from my
Yeah.
side, I hope.
Yeah, so recording has begun, and Anupam ji, over to you.
Okay.
The podium belongs to you. Yeah.
थैंक यू. फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल आप लोग सब मुझे अनुपम ही बोलिए, क्योंकि उम्र में भी और हर तरह से मैं शायद आप लोगों से जूनियर ही हूँ, एंड आई एम यूज्ड टू बीइंग कॉल्ड अनुपम, सो दैट विल हेल्प. So thank you so much. Thank you, Roy sir. This is the first time I am actually publicly speaking about the book Savage Pilgrim that I'm still finishing. You know, December 31st को मुझे लगा था किताब हो गई, अब सिर्फ एडिटिंग करना है, पर मैं वापस काफी चीजें रीराइट करने लगा हूँ. सो इंट्रोडक्शन तो मैंने शायद ग्रुप में दे ही दिया था. टू गिव यू अ ब्रीफ बैकग्राउंड, Roy sir and I know each other for more than 22 years. I was in a different avatar then. And over the years, I've had a range of experiences that has enriched my life, I would say. One of them was in 2009, I started one anonymous blog, जिसमें कि I used to essentially write about what's happening within the IPL teams. I was just creating them out of my imagination, but everybody thought it was real. This is early days of social media and blogging, and I'd called it the fake IPL player. And at that time, it was, I mean, it still is. It was kind of India's first viral phenomenon. Those time, even like viral and all of these terms hadn't really been coined. And it became somewhat of a phenomenon. People thought that somebody actually inside the IPL is writing all these stories. And eventually I revealed myself saying that, no, I was just an outsider. I had no inside links and I was just creating stories out of the figment of my imagination, and everybody just believed it. Uh, Now, at that time, it was front page news. It elevated my life suddenly, made me somewhat famous. And with fame, things came my way, some speaking circuit, some television advertisement, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now, fake IPL player turned out to be like the greatest thing that could have happened to me, but not for those reasons that I've just mentioned. Essentially, 2, 3 years into it, I started to realize that this is not like finally I've achieved something, and something that parents can be proud of. I can wear it on my shoulder and everything, but it's not making me feel the way I thought it would make me feel. Like everybody else, I'd been raised with ambition. Beta kuch bano, kuch ban ke dikhao. Or, back when we are children, a very harmless question that's asked, बड़े होके क्या बनोगे, and at that time we don't realize it, but when I look back, it sort of starts off a thinking that there is a point sometime in the future when you become something, and that is the point of it all. So education, relatives, every other peer comparison kind of trained me to become somebody, and eventually at the age of 32 I had become somebody. But then it didn't feel any better. In fact, it made my fears, anxieties, needs, wants, everything sort of complicate even more. Uh, and during that time, 2, 3 years after that, when the fame was kind of fading away, and I was kind of grappling with this, okay, so should I try to hold on to this identity, or what is the way to actually continue living? I was on a hike in Spiti Valley when during that 2 week period, I was exposed to how local Spithians are living, the simplicity of it all. And towards the end of it, a question pops up in my mind. Is it important to be somebody? Now, that is a question that I never actually encountered in my life. I thought that, of course, it is. I'd taken it as a truth of life that all of us should aspire to be somebody. But this is the first time I actually articulate that question in my head. Is it really important? Or have we been sold a lie? Have we been told ki, everything that we've been told from the time we were children has been a fiction? And that is the question that spiraled out into almost an obsessive quest. Um, Around that time, actually, Roy sir and I used to sometimes, I used to live in Bangalore at the time, and Roy sir was on his different journeys. And whenever he would land up in Bangalore, he'll call me, we'll go meet. And we had some amazing conversations around that as well. And Roy sir actually played a part in directing me in certain directions. But then searching for those answers to that one question made me go in search of different gurus, starting with Jaggi Vasudev. For about a year or so, I followed him very closely and intensely, doing his kriyas and practices, watching his videos, reading his books. But then at some point, some things weren't sitting well with me. And I thought that maybe he is not for me. I'm not in a position to judge him, but maybe it's not for me. And then moved on, uh, tried to explore Shri M, visited Ramana Maharshi's ashram in Tiruvannamalai, got deeply influenced by Neem Karoli Baba's stories. So went off all the way to Uttarakhand to see if I can be touched by him. And went on, all over the country sort of. Osho started to, he was already dead, but watching his videos, visiting the ashram, meeting some old Osho sannyasins, tried all of that. Um, but then nobody was really speaking to me, even though I think all of them had something good to offer, but that wasn't for me. But Jiddu Krishnamurti, who I had followed on video, had said that you don't need any guru, follow yourself. And that stayed with me. I thought that maybe, it's not about gurus, it's about experiences. I read about all these great people. They would be at a certain place at a certain time, and boom, something would happen and they'll be enlightened and everything will be clear. Osho ke saath hua, Jiddu ke saath hua, Buddha ke saath hua, Sadhguru also claims unke saath hua. So I thought, okay, let me be on that path. So that took me to a shaman, South American shaman, who was visiting India, and I did one ayahuasca ceremony with him, and then I latched on to him. For the next 7, 8 months, I was traveling around the country, apprenticing him, helping organize ayahuasca and peyote ceremonies. But eventually, I had a falling out with him as well, because I saw that, okay, the ceremonies are all fine, but there's just way too much. He's also driven with the same ego desires that all the rest of us are. And maybe the medicine is great, nature has given it, but ceremonies are not. So I moved on from there. But then through the ceremonies, I met somebody who introduced me to LSD. So then first time I took LSD, it was like, wow, this is what I was looking for. This is what I had to see. But then I need to explore further. So for the next 1 year, I traveled around the country carrying LSD in my pocket. And whenever the timing was right, the day was right, place was right, I'd just pop it and experience. And LSD finally actually showed me what I had read in all those books, Upanishads or all these great people, what they've written, that the physical world uh, is a really microcosm of what there is, and we just get an exposure to that. There's just so much more beyond the physical world, things that quantum physicists have spoken about, that everything is in a state of flux, nothing is the same. We have to understand the true nature of matter. LSD showed me that, but it also brought me back to the same physical world. And I realized that, I'm just too human to be on that side of the river where all the Buddhas exist. I'm really here. I will never get there. So I became kind of nihilistic, moved to Bombay, and I was like, okay, I'm just going to enjoy life now. So for the next 1.5, 2 years, and Roy sir, this is explained why all these years in Bombay I didn't meet you. So for 2 years, I was just leading a really debaucherous lifestyle. Uh, made it the point of my life to enjoy sensory pleasures, and that is all there is to it. But that didn't liberate me. In fact, that trapped me even more. Fortunately for me, one of Osho's teachings kind of stayed with me, because many people say that Osho encourages you to just indulge, go through the excess, and then you can be free from it. But he also says that while you're doing it, keep the observer alive, keep the observer awake. And that thing kind of stayed with me, and that observer was always watching me. And at some point, it exposed me to the fact that this path has taken me to an even darker path, and this is not the way to it. I'd become quite really questioning my life and thinking, is it really worth living any further? So one of our friends, Sachin Malan, whom Roy sir also knows, he pushed me towards Vipassana. I went into Vipassana, and in those 10 days, really the fog lifted. And what I'd been looking for over the last 8 years, all those answers just revealed in front of me, way beyond even what LSD had shown me. And on my last day in Vipassana, I was thinking, man, it's so simple. The algorithm of the world, the universe is so simple. But I spent 8 years, went all over the places, chased so many gurus, did so many substances, had all these experiences to reach here. Why didn't I just do it right at the start? What would my life have been if I'd done right at the start? But a voice from within me came and said that, you had all these experiences, so you can write about it, so others don't have to. And that's when the book, that Savage Pilgrim, which it has become, that's where the seed was that I had to do it. But that was 2021. Almost now it'll be 5 years, 5 years in April, in 1.5 months since that Vipassana retreat. The book is still in the making. And so this is the story that has gone into Savage Pilgrim, the book that I'm sort of talking to you about. So that's the long and short of my introduction.
Thanks, Anupamji, for the introduction. And I must confess that while you are talking, I just Googled fake IPL player, and I found that there is a Wikipedia page on a fake IPL player, and your name figures there as
Yeah.
how you revealed this entire story. So anyway, we are really very privileged to have you here. So kindly go on.
Yes, so this is the story. What if you have any questions or anything at this point in time, I'll be happy to take them. But then, maybe 5-10 minutes, maybe there are some questions popping up, or if you want to share any of your own observations from your life, I'm very happy to hear. And then I would like to, the thing is, during this 8 years, what has been most interesting and what I think is the beauty of the book that might come out from me is that during these 8 years, the greatest wisdoms that I actually acquired were not from any gurus or ashrams. They were all from just ordinary people I met during my travels. One old man who was returning from Ardh who I gave a lift to in Rishikesh, or one drug dealer I met in Ladakh, or an elderly lady on a train, or a sugarcane, gannewala in Bombay, who just gave me a completely different perspective on what success is. So I'd like to tell you some of those stories. I have them, that's, but then we have, let's say we are 7:55, maybe we can spend 10 minutes just interacting between us. If you have any questions or any thoughts you'd like to share, happy to do that over the next 10 minutes.
Right, Anupamji. So request to the audience, if you have any points for interaction, anything that you'd like to talk about, any queries.
Maybe when you finish, we'll get more
Sure. So before I get to that, I'll tell you, because we have Roy sir, who's our Sutradhar, or the interconnector here.
Yes.
This is 2014, I think. So this Spiti hike happened in 2013. So from then it has been 1 year. I've already gone through the uh, infatuation, love affair, and breakup with Sadhguru Jaggi Vasudev, and I'm kind of a little bit clueless. So, Roy sir calls me. It's around 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. He says, "I'm coming to Bangalore in 2-3 hours. You come and meet me today evening. I have to tell you something." I'm like, "Amazing, yes, I'll certainly come." So then I went. I met him at his friend's place. We were sitting on the terrace, very, very beautiful Bangalore weather. And he tells me that no, he's been doing the rounds, Kedarnath, Badrinath, Varanasi, Tiruvannamalai. So he says that of all the people that he's met, if there's one guy whom he's really liked, it's Shri M. He says that if there's somebody who might be enlightened, it's him. And I said, why do you say that? He said, the way he laughs, when he laughs, he laughs from the bottom of his stomach. And that can only happen when you are. And he gave me Sri M's autobiography, which I read. And then from that autobiography, I said, okay, agar unhone ye likhi hai, so I ordered some of the Upanishad translations of Sri M. Uh, that was my entry into spiritual literature. Because before that, I was of the view, you know, these things will be way beyond me. Upanishads and all this Bible, I will never be able to understand. So I used to read fiction, non-fiction, stuff like that. But then I realized that when I started reading the Upanishads, that I can actually get it. And the interesting thing is, I realized that I felt that I was not learning anything new. What I'm learning, I already knew, and the fog is just lifting. You know, it was just memory coming back. I, in fact, went and met Shriyam also in his ashram, which was a slightly underwhelming experience, rather more underwhelming than Roy Sir's. And thanks to Roy Sir, I also went to Tiruvannamalai and visited Ramana Maharshi. So Roy Sir ka wo influence raha hai. And some of these chapters may or may not make it to the book. I'm still sort of dabbling in it. So what I'll do is I'm going to show you some illustrations that so the book is also going to have illustrations. Each chapter is going to have an illustration that starts with it, and from the illustration will emerge the title, which will be like the philosophy of that chapter. So I'm hoping that the index is going to read like the philosophical spine of the book. So I'm going to make it a little bit interesting. So uh, I'll talk about 4 stories. I have 4 slides, eight each. I would request one by one, any one of you to pick any one, and I will tell you the story behind it. So let me go with my surname's sake, Mr. Mukhopadhyay. Dipankar da, if you can you see the 2 illustrations on the screen? Yeah, sorry. Yeah, this one. Are you on mute? I can't hear you.
You're muted, Dipankar da. You have to unmute yourself.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, the first one looks all right.
Okay, the kid.
Yeah, and I thought Sharada also raised his hand. He may have a question. I don't know if you want to attend that before me.
Sure.
Sharada he's
yes,
also Mukhopadhyay.
let's do that.
Sharada, are you there?
Sharda sir?
You're also muted if you're speaking. Oh, no, you're not muted. You were.
Sharda sir, please go on with your question if you have.
Oh, he.
Sir, you are muted. Sharda sir, you are muted. Please
I
unmute
think he's
yourself.
frozen.
No, he's
Yeah.
logged in from 2 devices.
Is it audible now?
Yes, you are.
So
yes.
in the interregnum, you said that at this stage, do you have anything to ask or something? So
Yes,
I had
please.
only one thing to ask, that you tried one path or one wish, one desire, one way to live and feel and know. And after pursuing, after some distance, let us say with Jaggi Vasudev or the South African leader or the Ramana Maharshi. So after some, or even the enjoyment and also way, after some stage you said, no, it is not that. So at each, the paths are different. So are you in your book or even here, are you stressing on those points that after what sort of point that trigger happens to no, this is no. You have to retract. So I try the other way. No, this is not. So up to where you travel and then you find in your mind it is no. Is there some sort of a satisfaction level progressively diminishing return of satisfaction sort of thing that happens in economics? It cannot be regulated here, but what were your triggers? Maybe different triggers.
Yeah.
How it was so that after some you feel very energetic to follow a path, and after some you said, okay, enough is enough, let me get out of it. So that will be, the trigger points will be interesting to understand. I am switching off so that you can talk.
Yes. Thank you. That's actually a very sharp observation. And I often wonder whether it's a combination of my own personality trait as well as circumstances. Of course, there are some traits like, I'm quite emotionally driven, so which makes me rush into things without thinking too much. And I kind of figure out as I go on. Like a friend of mine says that I start from a point of 100 or 0. So many times like, yes, this is it, get in and when I would get in, I would get in fully. I won't go in as a skeptic. I'll be like, go in fully. But on each path, uh, when I would encounter a situation where that would not sit well with me in terms of how I feel, uh, for the lack of any other word, God or nature or the universal code should be, I would have a disconnect. So, for instance, and I can let me illustrate it you with examples. For instance, in Sadhguru Jaggi Vasudev's case, I think things that he says in terms of the code and universe and all of that is bang on, and he doesn't say anything new. He says what the Buddha said, what Osho said, what Jiddu said. They all are just different ways of saying it. For me, the seeds of doubt happened when I saw him supporting a particular political leader too much, who would eventually become the prime minister, and so much praise of him, which eventually leading to awards and invitations to places and things like that. Now, there is nothing wrong with anybody doing that. I just feel that if somebody, this is how you and I will do. We are humans. We will do exactly that, and Ambani will do, and all the human beings will do that. But if somebody is beyond human, do you think they will have to employ these human uh, tactics to grow in life? I would say that, for instance, to me, Osho, for instance, his was he got where he did without sucking up to 1% in this world. So to me, that excites me more. To me, some other things started bothering me, like purchasing things, saying that this is consecrated by him, and we have to believe just because they are saying it. And also purchasing things from the ashram under the guise of donation to avoid taxes. To me, everything seemed like a very human enterprise, which is not how I imagine, let's say, a Lord Buddha or a Jesus Christ to operate. So for me, there was a dissonance, and I was like, and for me, the thing is about Sadhguru is that he demands complete loyalty and obedience, devotion. He says, do what I say and you will get there. Now, when I'm not totally convinced with that person, that seems too risky for me because I have only one life to figure it out, I think. Okay, so I'm not going to put all my eggs in one basket that I'm not convinced about. Some of the other parts where things sort of fell down for me. One of them I intend to actually. So when speak about it, it'll show up on one of the slides. Actually, I leave that one to there. With the shaman, what happened was, um, I feel that uh, like I ended up spending too much time with him and his wife outside of ceremonies. And I saw that none of again, the same very, very human frailties and propensity, like some sort of a greed for money or power. Um, and in the end, where we had the discussion where, when I said, I do not agree with the way you do things, even though I love you in the ceremonies and you're really good at it, I do not agree with all the other things and it's not sitting well with me. So he said that, why we are doing it? We are doing this for karma. We are not doing this for money. So that's when I said that even if you're doing it for karma, it's still some level of greed. And uh, I realized that I still believe in those plant medicines. I think they are amazing. They can really, and I've seen people come to these ceremonies with a lot of good intention to heal, and I've seen them heal as well in some ways, at least in what they say. But I started to think that the plants have been put here by nature. Man has created all these elaborate ceremonies and words and chants and spirit of the north, spirit of the east, move in this direction and all of that. And I was like, I do not want to believe anything that man. I started to feel that anything that man has created is for his own, to make himself feel important. And I was like, now I only want to follow nature and not any man. So that is how it was all a matter of, if something didn't feel sit right with me, I will doubt it, I'll question it, and if I don't have convincing answers, I'll move on. So that has been my approach, for good or for bad.
No, okay, good. Thank you. So I understand in my way that when you have fallen for a cause and the cause is epitomized by an icon, let us say Jaggi Basudev or X or Y. Then you will first join his charm circle, and very soon charm wears off. Then you start observing more critically, and then your own logic, your own thinking, your rationality comes in. And when you are out of that spell of charm, then really after some time, some moha mukti happens. So then you come back to your own decisions, and then you rethink and go somewhere else. So this leads to my second question, where I will stop and then let this discussion go on. Though then the second question is, the first you fall in the charm. So out of everything, why did you fall for, say, Vasudev or Raman Maharshi or this or that? So when we are a little bit disbalanced in mind, let us say I go and meet somebody who is more poised, more praised by many people, he has an aura, something, and she's cast some sort of spell in my mind. If I happen to be with him, I follow him. If I have not met him, go to somebody else guru, maybe I follow for him. So where does this charm and getting a little bit affected happens? I switch off my microphone, and after that, I will not ask more questions.
No, you can. You can. Thank you. Thank you for the question. So what I gather is your question is, why do you fall for the charm in the first place? Is that right? So I feel at the start it would have been, once the question came in and the doubt started to come in that maybe this is not the world, the way of the world that I thought was the way is not it, then what? And that search, because of whatever reason, first dropped me on the path of Sadhguru Jaggi Vasudev. Of course, there are some things that they say that seems to suggest that they have the answers and they have the path. And so one is, as you said, there is some disbalance in the mind, some want, some need that takes me there. The other is, I feel, especially when it comes to falling for the charm of a guru or falling into that trap, is the fear or the feeling of inadequacy that I can do it or find it myself. So it's much easier if there is somebody who says, I will take you there, and all I have to do is just follow that person mindlessly. And I feel it is a little bit of a weakness and lack of confidence in one's own ability, or at least in my case, that was the case, that it was a lack of confidence in my own ability to be able to find it. So I was like, okay, there's this guy. There are a few other people who tell me that he is the guy, and he's already said a few things. He's already showed me one kriya that, also mind kind of creates a reality that you want to believe in. So I'm really thinking that the kriya is helping, my kundalini is rising, my chakras are opening. My mind was just like creating all these realities. Nothing was happening. I was thinking this chakra is going to burst open any moment. So the mind plays all these games. And I think some of these gurus are very good at tapping into it. There is the fear of becoming a failure in this life in terms of not achieving moksha, and the desire to achieve moksha, and playing the two things together is a very effective way in keeping people trapped in this. And I feel that at that time, it gave me a sense of comfort that, oh, if nothing else, he is there, you know, that kind of a space.
I can see Deepak Mohanji raising his hand, and may I request everyone to kindly keep your question reserved for now, and maybe at the end of the session we can ask all the questions, because we have limited time for this session. So Deepak Mohanji, kindly go ahead. Since you have raised your hand, you can ask a question.
I mean, it's a parallel thing that as an academic, I mean, we are trying to look for answers, and I could see the parallel there. Like, how do we do research? You come across a beautiful theory, and then you start reading that person's other works. What we are trying to understand is how the world works. right? And there are multiple theories in parallel from different individuals from different domains. And when you are explaining like how you went from one person to another and trying to find a more sophisticated, so y- my guess would be that your every subsequent guru that you went to would be more sophisticated, giving a better, more holistic picture of the world as opposed to the previous ones. Was it like that? Because otherwise it wouldn't make sense, and you will immediately find the gaps in their way of understanding the world. That was my question.
So the way I look at things now is that we end up selecting a guru much like we select our life partner or our favorite sports person. We go by one that appeals to our sensibilities. Because at its core, most of them, if we just kick out all the real fraud ones who are, fooling the poor, uh, at the core, most of them are really saying the same things. Be in the present moment. Don't get attached to all these things. They're very simple, two, three, four things only that each one of us can also say because we've also read enough books. But then the way I would look at it is, at the end of the day, there were the two gurus or spiritual figures who I still hold in somewhat high self-esteem, or who whose words have stayed with me, are Jiddu Krishnamurti and Osho. Why? Osho appeals to my rebellious nature. So I cannot follow somebody who's subservient to power. Okay. And I love the guy's rebel. So he appeals to my sense of humor. He appeals to my the approach where he never put anybody else at a pedestal. So things like that. So, and that's why I'm more Osho than Sadhguru. Jiddu Krishnamurti, again, because what I really liked about him was that two things. He said that remain with the question. When a question comes, do not get in a rush to answer and come to a conclusion. And that really helped me. And the second thing, he said that you don't need anybody, you just need yourself, and do not believe anyone, do not follow anyone. Again, just appeals to my sensibilities, just that somebody, actually Shri M also, for instance, I saw Shri M when he did his Vedanta discourses. First of all, somebody came ahead and said that no pranams, no claps, nothing. 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock was the discourse. 5 o'clock, he'll walk up to the stage, pin drop silence. He'll sit down, he'll open the book, start doing it. 7 p.m., he'll shut it, walk out. Again, this appeals to my sensibilities as compared to a Sadhguru. When I went for one of his sessions, first of all, they played one audio visual, okay, very Microsoft, Google, corporate film type of a thing, already created an aura that somebody great is going to come. Then he walks up, turban, this. As soon as he comes, he starts singing one song. Somebody starts crying in the crowd, like one cinematic. And I can see the way they are trying to play with my psychology. Like, already before he has uttered a word, everybody has already been made to believe that he is God. So now that does not appeal to my sensibilities. I'm not sitting there to be fooled by anyone. If I'd gone to watch a movie, of course I'll watch this movie, not that. So I think at the end of the day, it's about who appeal to my sensibilities and the way I'm built. And for some other people, Sadhguru is the best guy, and good for them, not for me.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I'll go to some stories. Thanks for your questions. That really energized me. So these are okay, two illustrations, and actually this was okay. I wanted to put two of the cutest illustrations there and see which one gets picked. And thanks for picking this one. This is the first illustration. The book. This is the first page of the book actually, and this was the first chapter. So this is on the last day in Spiti, second last day rather. So I was going to stay at my guide's house, and he had a daughter who was just really this tiny. And uh, I was just sitting there, and from the time I got there, I was just watching her. She was so self-assured. She was walking around like she like she was the ruler of the house. She was barking orders to her mother, who was packing lunch for the mother-in-law who was working in the field. So she was telling her, put this, put this. She carried this, and then at the way she looked at me, She was just so self-assured, and the whole evening I was just so amused by her, by the way she went about things. Barely like 2 years old at the time. The next morning, we were having breakfast. There were a couple of other tourists from Delhi who were staying in the next house, and they had come here for breakfast, a husband and a wife, and they too were mesmerized by this little pint-sized force of nature. Um, and one of the woman, she said that she should be in Delhi or Bombay or something. She can be somebody. She could make something out of her life. And that's when like the words just popped out of my mouth that I spoke about earlier. Is it important to be somebody? Um, and in my mind, I picturize this girl 25 years later, if she's in Delhi or Bombay, has done some engineering MBA kind of degree, is going through the corporate world, it's politics, is surviving in the gas chamber, trying to make something of her life the way we imagine, or she's just here, in Spiti, raising a family, leading a simple life, just like her mother. And I could not quite fathom whether the city life is actually better than this. Uh, a year ago, it would be no question, that is a better life. We should all aspire for that. We should try to be somebody. But having spent 2 weeks in Spiti, having met an elderly man who said that he spends his days preparing for death, not preparing as in he was physically fine, spiritually preparing for the afterlife. Having come across a man walking his sick donkey to another village to get him treated, and that's his day in office, walking through this beautiful, picturesque landscape. The only question he's answering is, what's the path that's easiest to the sick donkey? And that made me think, okay, is my life in that office, sitting in that office, doing all these calls and meetings, really superior to this? So having all these experiences leading up to meeting this girl and looking at her and having that comparison in my head and asking, is it important to be somebody, or have you been, sold a lie? So that's the significance of this picture, and I spoke about it earlier in the talk. This is the girl who had inspired that question that sent me on that 8-year wild goose chase. I'll go to the next one now. Who would like to pick the illustration? Any one of you?
Can I do that?
Yes, please.
Sorry, I should have given chance to others as well. So I'd like to pick the second picture, the man who's supposedly standing in alone, all by himself in this corner.
Yes. And he's carrying a cup of a tray with cups of tea. Can you see that? Let me just
Yes,
make it bigger.
yes, yes.
Yeah. Thank you. So this is I've turned on. You can still see the screen, right?
I can see the screen.
Thank you. So both these are actually very pivotal moments. The second one that you have picked, sir. So this was in Bharuch, in Gujarat. I had happened to meet one Baba. I was doing a road trip of Gujarat where my car broke down near Bharuch, very close to the Narmada River. It was evening. It was a rental car. They'll take a day or two to replace it. The villager sent me to this temple complex where one Baba Ji was there, and he had 2 rooms. So he said that you can stay here. And so for 1.5 days, I spent with that Baba, sitting around his dhuni, smoking chillums. And this Baba, what I saw actually very interesting was that, what is I'll tell you what his day looked like. So he'll wake up at 6 o'clock, run, light the dhuni, light one chillam, then go, before the chillam, light the dhuni, do his prayers, take a shower, whatever, come back, sit down and light a chillam. Some villager will come, make tea for him, he'll have tea. Then somebody will come, make chapatis, nashta, he'll be barking orders, ye बर्तन साफ कर दो, ये कर दो, अरे तूने ये ठीक से नहीं किया. And he'll really be barking orders at all the villagers who are doing all these things. He's just sitting there around the duli, smoking chillums, and whoever is coming, you know. Then in the evening when the aartis are happening, there's one, he said, there's one orphan. I've made him the priest, even though he's low caste. कम छोटी जात का है लेकिन मैंने उसे बना दिया पुजारी, वही करता है. So the one job that he has in this, which is to do the prayers, also he's outsourced. What they'll do is after the aarti, they'll bring the prasad to him. He'll just do his, no, in the end he'll go, actually he'll go and just in the end he'll do one flourish, bless, come back, they'll bring the prasad, he'll do the blessing and they'll take the prasad. And all he does the whole day is just sit there and enjoy life. And I'm thinking, there is not one Fortune 500 CEO in the world who has it this easy. Now, this Babaji story is very interesting. In the mid 1980s, so he basically ran away from home when he was young, around 10, 11 years old. Some sadhu takes him under his wing, becomes part of the akhada. Then, 18, 20 years of age, he's told ki chalo ab tum apna aage niklo. In the mid 80s, he lands up at this place near Bharuch. This was just barren land next to the Narmada. He builds one small jhopdi and he builds one small temple and he starts living here. There is no sweet water in this entire area because it's so close to the Narmada, which is just about to hit the sea. But then he starts digging a well. And he says at the start, when I started digging the well, all I did was offer some Ganga Jal and say the Gayatri mantra. And lo and behold, he finds sweet water right there. And then that well becomes the well from which the entire village, which is right there, starts taking water. And slowly, he starts growing things, plants that saying one temple starts to get built. Slowly, there are 2 rooms, 1 kitchen, and 20 years later, when the water department wants to set up, put that place under water supply, they find sweet water here. So even the tanker, like the tanki, gets built right there. And basically he shows up at this place which is uninhabited, builds a temple. It becomes his land without him owning any property papers, and he just sits there the whole day chilling, smoking chillums. I think chilling as a word may have come from chillums only. As I'm saying this, I'm realizing. And he's got all this army of people who are doing this work for him every day free of cost. I'm like, man, this guy has it made. A year or 2 later, I stay in touch with him, 6, 7 months. I make sometimes call up, Hari Om, और ये वो बात करते हैं, वो भी बात करते हैं. Once he invites me for Mahashivratri to Girnar. And the picture that you see on the left is actually watching Mahashivratri on Girnar. That's when I see, seeing the parade of the akhadas going for the Shahi Snan. I see that people who are going on all these chariots, all these great sadhus with followers, they are, they are driven by the same ego desires of wanting to be, wanting to be big, like we are in the material world, but then their currency is different. It's number of white followers, how big the chariot is and all of that. So I started to think that maybe the material world could be actually more honest, because here it's very clearly about the money. It's a number, so anyway, but on the right, this guy whom you see is his name is Kanti Bhai. And this is on the 3rd visit to his temple. First time was when my car broke down. The second time I went on the way to Girnar for Mahashivratri. And this is my 3rd time. I was on a road trip heading back from, I'd gone from Mysore all the way to Uttarakhand and coming back. I decided to spend a couple of days with him in Bharuch. And in all my 3 visits, Kanti Bhai, I saw him, he would from morning till night, he would be kind of there and just bringing in tea. उनका एक ही काम था, वो चाय लेके आते थे. And the time at which he's brought the tea, at the time that he's brought the tea, if a chillam is doing the rounds, he'll get a hit or 2. But he was pretty much like a slave over there. And I used to feel really bad every time. He was a very nice older man than me. He would bring, हर बार वो चाय लेके आते थे, and I used to feel really bad. बड़े ह्यूमिलिटी के साथ में उनकी चाय एक्सेप्ट करता था, बट एक्सेप्ट जरूर करता था. वो दिस कॉन्फ्लिक्ट आई डिड नॉट सी इन बाबा सिस्टिंग. इज लाइक ये जा, ये करके आ, वो करके आ. नाउ on this evening, what happened was through the morning, I'd been sitting with Baba, chilam after chilam, villagers coming, going, all of that. Around 7 o'clock in the evening, mosquitoes, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, mosquitoes had come. So we had gone to the Baba's room, which was right behind the temple. It was a narrow rectangular room that had one bed, hard bed on which Baba was sitting. I don't think there was any ventilation. There was one little TV right behind, and we were six of us were sitting on the floor, and right behind me was the TV, and the TV was playing this Gujarati news channel. And my mind already, I'm not that much of a chillam smoker at all. But when you're sitting there, you cannot refuse. And if you don't do it well, then you might lose, privilege past at sitting there by the dhuni. So I would try, but I was really. And then we came inside. There was more chillams going around. The TV was playing that news, and the news was, I could not understand the language, but there's a haunting music on loop, and that's why and it's just, I can feel it inside me. The anxiety is just building. That little room has become full of smoke. My head is about to burst. And this music, that's haunting music, is really causing a lot of anxiety. And I decide that I need to get up. So with a lot of, very politely, I get up from the floor, fold my hands, and make my way out of the room. There's one corridor, which is, the temple is right there. At the end of the corridor, I can see it's open. The dhuni is still burning. There are mattresses there. I really just want to get there. I want to get into fresh air. I was just so nauseated at the time. And just as I'm walking, I see Kanti Bhai emerge from the other side of the corridor carrying a tray of cups. Now, Kanti Bhai and I, in these 3 visits, we have never exchanged any words beyond Dhanyavad. And he chooses this very moment to break that ice. So we're just right in the middle of the corridor. I am just saying hello and walking past, but he stops and he decides to start conversing with me. And I really want to get out of here. He says, मैं बाबा जी के साथ सन 86 से चिलम पी रहा हूँ. बहुत अच्छा. मैं बाबा जी के साथ बहुत जगह घूमा हूँ. रामेश्वरम गया, काशी गया, कुंभ मेला गया, केदारनाथ गया, ऋषिकेश गया, हरिद्वार गया, नासिक गया. And he's just listing out places. I'm like, मैं इनके साथ रोज रहता हूँ, मैं उनको रोज चाय पिलाता हूँ, उनके साथ चिलम पीता हूँ. Okay, very good. And like, okay, maybe this is it, and I'll be allowed to leave to my freedom. And then he says, पर क्या पाया? And I'm just shocked. Like, I did not expect this. And I'm thinking, am I dreaming? And I'm already in this haze. I'm in this dark corridor, just a little bit of light coming from there. This man is turned around and saying, Kya paya? And then he repeats, more visceral, more loud, Kya paya? And I just start stumbling out, and I just go. I plonk myself on the mattress by the dhuni. Fortunately, there are no mosquitoes. And I just look up. It's just amazing, beautiful. It's so cool. I'm finally breathing. I shut my eyes and maybe I pass out, but Kanti Bhai's voice keeps echoing in my ears. Kya paya? And that was one of the pivotal moments where I was like, no, I need to, whatever I have to find, whatever I'm searching for, I need to find it in the real world, what we call the material world, because that is our reality. And if there's a truth, it can be found here. I cannot escape from there, because 20 years later, I don't want to be saying kya paya.
Yes, very profound.
Thank you. How much more time we have? Because I have more slides.
We can go ahead. We have a lot of time, at least till 9 p.m. we can go comfortably. Another 30 minutes or so. Not an issue.
So these are the new two.
With your permission, Ashutosh, I would just like to add one line here for Anupam. If you are not finding some response with regards to, say, the pictures which you are showing or otherwise, just keep continuing. And do not worry about the time. Till 9, definitely you can continue if you wish. So please continue. Anupam.
I will request one of you to pick one illustration, because I don't want to pick, because it becomes very difficult for me to pick. So if it gets picked for me, it's much easier.
The left side.
Okay. So during my when I during the time when I kind of quit the so-called spiritual search and immersed myself into the physical realm with a vengeance, really. One of the things that I experimented with uh, was gambling, specifically cricket betting. Now, I feel that I understand cricket really well and I can read a game really well. So I was like, why not make money of it? So for about a year, I tried to make money of it. I did not. I lost a lot of money. And that is the irony of it all, as to what is it that, despite understanding cricket so well, why would I not make money off betting? Uh, Now, while I lost money and time, that experience did teach me a few things about life. And so I look at it as a kind of expensive college education, just to make myself feel better about it. What came out very clearly was that um, the two emotions that drive almost all our decisions are fear and desire. And when I'm not betting and I'm looking at a cricket match, I'm actually able to make very objective calls on what is likely to happen. But when I have money riding on it, then suddenly I lose my objectivity. That's because these two emotions of fear and desire take over. The fear of losing money, the desire of getting the money, or doubling your money in 10 minutes. Or in cricket, in IPL, especially T20 format, you could, in the space of 15 minutes, convert 10,000 into 2 lakhs rupees. And that is a very tempting kind of space to be. And I realized that it is these two emotions that color our judgment. And I started to look at almost every life decision that I've made from the time I was 18 years old, around the time when we actually start making decisions for our lives. Okay, which college to go to, what post-graduation, what job, etc., etc. And I started to see how I have been governed by these two decisions, these two emotions, for all the decisions. And it started to feel that whenever we make any decision based on either of these two emotions, it is the wrong decision. Sometimes the right decision coincides with the fear-led decisions, and that makes us feel कि हमने सही decision किया. But the right decision really is one that comes from a very calm, intuitive space, where we are not colored by any of these things. Both fear and desire are stemming from either experiences of the past or projections of the future. They take us away from the present moment. And only when we are completely in the present moment, and looking at things uncolored by emotions, can we make the right decision. So fear and desire are how I am trapped into this. And in my case, I saw that it's more fear than desire. For some other people I've seen, it's more desire than fear. But I also started to understand that fear and desire are not very different. They are actually two ends of the spectrum of the same emotion. And that is what we have to watch out for. The other thing that I feel my experiences with betting and gambling taught me was there are two types of people in the world, or two types of players in the world. And one is a winner, the other is a loser. However, the winner or loser is actually not decided by the outcome, because the outcome can be anything. And also, life is very long. So even if I lose today, I could win tomorrow, or I could lose the next 10 days and I could win next year and really make up for everything. So the outcome is really not the deciding factor here. What decides a winner between what decides the difference between a winner and a loser is a mindset. The loser is, so the winner is somebody who's playing to win. A loser is somebody who's playing not to lose. And when I was betting and gambling, I could see very clearly which one of the two I was. And I'm not proud to say that I wasn't exactly a winner. So no wonder I ended up losing that game. I'll move to the next illustration, the next set of illustrations. Who would like to go?
Right.
Okay, right. Okay, the one with the meditation.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So this is actually the final chapter of the book. And I'm glad that as we've gone, we've covered the first and the last and a couple of pivotal moments in between. So we kind of covered the arc. This is Vipassana, the final frontier, so to speak. Now, I don't know whether you can see, but the illustrator very beautifully, what she has done is she has shown some angry faces coming out as smoke emanating from Vipassana. What happened was when I went into Vipassana for the first 3 days when they teach a meditation technique called Anapana. The Anapana, all it does is it quietens the mind. And after that, the Vipassana practice starts, which is essentially to understand the sensations happening within the physical body. Now, we cannot feel or recognize those sensations unless the mind is quietened. And that's why the first 3 days of Anapana. Now, during those 3 days of Anapana, what happened was I could not sleep even 1 minute of the night. So from 4 a.m. to 9 p.m., 10 p.m., we're pretty much meditating with some breaks in between. But after that, there's some 5-6 hours that we can sleep. It's physically so exhausting, but I could not sleep. I just stayed awake for 72 hours while doing the meditations, almost on an empty stomach. And during the nights, I'd just be pacing up and down my room, and I would just feel all this anger pouring out of me, so much anger. And it's only later I realized that I would say towards the end of the second day, when the anger gave way to other emotions, did I realize that the mind, because it's not used to, forced to be quiet, is actually revolting like a dog who's been put on a leash for the first time. And that's why all this anger is coming out. But then I started asking, why anger? Like, there are so many other emotions. And I realized I totally understood that all this, because I've had a pretty good life. I've had a decent childhood, upbringing, no great hardships, nothing terrible has happened to me in my life. There is no reason why I should be so angry. And I was getting angry at really people who didn't matter. Yeah. And I could see how the mind is working. The mind is going by a certain recency factor. Somebody who may have just angered me, 2 weeks ago, when all the recency factors are, it's running out, it's going back and picking up the most common factor, let's say my father or my parents or my teacher in first standard who had hit me. So things like that. So the mind has a certain pattern in which it's playing, and it's picking up different bits of data from its memory hard disk and throwing at me. And it seemed almost irrational for this much anger to be stored within me. I knew that all this anger is coming from my previous lives. It's not from this life. It's something that's been accumulated over lifetimes. By the and I understood the programming that I have is that of that anger. And by the end of by the 7th or 8th day, once I had understood the way the mind works and managed to quieten the mind somewhat and got deeper into the physical sensation and started to understand all these sensations that were happening within the body, I saw the connection that is playing out. Uh, the mind creates a thought. It creates the thought creates an emotion. The emotion creates a physical sensation in the body. So let's say the mind creates a thought, the heart creates the emotion, the body creates the sensation. That is the cycle that is continuously on. Now, why is this cycle on? Why is the mind creating the thought in the first place for that sensation to be felt? That's because the body that I have is addicted to those sensations and is craving those sensations all the time. And that is essentially the reason I have taken birth in this physical form, to feel those sensations. When before I was born, when the body was not there, the craving for that sensations was still there, but there was no body to satiate it with. And that's why the rebirth has happened and that cycle is continuing. And in this lifetime, by following the code of uh, the thought of anger, basically a thought creating the emotion of anger, creating the sensations of anger, and that cycle, I'm just tightening that wiring even more in this lifetime, that I have accumulated over lifetimes. And in this body, in this lifetime, I'm just perpetuating that, which is adding more karmas. And the whole purpose in this life is to unwind it, recognize the programming, refusing to create that thought, refusing that emotion of anger, uh, refusing to chase that sensation that's created in the body. This is the karmic cycle, and uh, it may be intuitive to some people, or some people may already be aware of it, so it's not new knowledge. But for me, at that moment, it was completely new. I wanted to understand what is karma. I'd read about it, great people explaining it in books, but it never really made sense of it. I knew that the way karma is a bitch, or karma does this, or this is bad karma, the way it's described in the world, it's too simplistic. I'm sure that its karma is simple, but I knew it cannot be simplistic. And now it is only here experientially I was able to feel it and recognize it. And that's when I was like, okay, so uh, in this life, we've been given this body, we've been given these circumstances, and we will have a range of experiences. The key is to go through these experiences without tightening the noose of the karma, rather unwinding or unwiring the karma, but not questioning the experience. The experiences are really incidental. They are just catalysts, they are just stimulants. And the real purpose is to go through them without getting touched by them, which is what the great books also say. But now I really understood what it means. Uh, Experience it without um, accumulating the trauma, so to speak. So that's the finale of the book. Not to say that after that I've been leading life as a Buddha. I am totally free from all that. The struggle continues, but at least now I don't get worked up about very petty things or minor things as I used to once upon a time. So
Great.
we can throw it open for more interactions if you want.
So, Anupam, thank you very much. I
Ashutosh will
go
manage
first.
from your-
Sorry. Um, I'm just trying to cut short on the time. So I go first. So I've got 5 points to bring up, Anupam. First of all, thank you. The first one is I very recently actually saw Instagram post which said there was this kid who says that, in my school and at home, everybody asks me, बड़ा होकर क्या बनोगे? और वो engineer, doctor, IAS, professor, researcher, scientist. So he said, मैंने बोल दिया बड़ा होके चाट बेचूंगा. अब ये हुआ कि जो स्ट्रेस मैं खुद अपने ऊपर ले लेता वो मैं अपने पेरेंट्स को ट्रांसफर कर दिया कि अब मुझे वो बचाए चाट बनने वाले से बचने के लिए। और जब भी मुझे कुछ चाहिए होता है और वो मुझे ना कहते हैं, मैं सीधा जाके पोटैटोज और आलू बॉईल करने लगता हूँ और इससे मेरी इच्छा पूर्ति हो जाती है। तो फर्स्ट तो मैं बड़ी हंसा और उसके बाद कुछ दोस्तों के साथ शेयर भी किया, लेकिन बाद में मैंने ये इसके ऊपर विचार करना शुरू किया कि क्यों हमारा लाइफ, हमारे सोशल कंडीशनिंग इतनी छोटी उम्र से होने लगती है। एंड फ्रॉम psychologists and personality development theorists, it's proven that your personality almost gets sort of completely decided by the age of 6. Again, there are, 6 to 8 or 4 to 8, whatever. And from that time onwards, I've been struggling, and I was very delighted to hear from you when you said this conditioning that we have to prove to the world and be something itself drives me, or, in your experience, towards finding some resolution, some solution. Is that what it is? So that was my first observation that, I wanted to share. And for me, this initiates a life of suffering more than suffer. Suffer in Hindi here, and the earlier suffering was in English. The second thing that I want to bring out, and again, from listening to you, is this whole psyche of approval and validation. हमको एग्जाम में 80 नंबर चाहिए, मुझे क्लास में फर्स्ट आना है, तब जाके मुझे साइकिल मिलेगी, तब जाके मुझे शाबाशी मिलेगी, तब जाके मेरे चाचा मामा और मेरे भाई भौजाई और जो भी हैं वो मुझे शाबाशी देंगे. And that creates a mindset of approval and validation. And I still struggle at this age. When last couple of weeks back, and my wife is not around, nobody's around, so I can say this. I had to tell her that, look, I don't need your approval. I'm doing this. And she got mad at me. Still mad, वो sort out करूँगा बाद में. But truth is, this is something which gets ingrained. And Anupam, I'm so happy I'm here today in your session. तुम इसको चैलेंज कियो. I'm sorry I'm calling you, तुम मेरे से छोटा ही हो इसलिए बोल रहा हूँ. I'm very sure. तो इसको तुमने चैलेंज किया कि मैं क्यों वैलिडेट, मैं क्यों अप्रूवल लूं, चाहे वो जगी हो, चाहे वो श्री एम हो, चाहे कोई हो. और इसका जवाब मुझे मिलता है, इस फिल्म का एक शीर्षक है मेरी आवाज सुनो. आई एम श्योर ऑल ऑफ यू हैव हर्ड ऑफ दिस फिल्म, राइट? द प्रॉब्लम विद दैट इज, मेरी आवाज सुनो, आप दूसरे को बोल रहे हो, खुद को क्यों नहीं बोल रहे हो? मैं खुद अपनी आवाज सुनूं, मेरे अंदर की आवाज क्या है, मैं उसको सुनूं और उस पे अमल करूं और उस पे एक्शन लूं. अनुपम, यू हैव डन दैट. वेरी इंस्पिरेशनल, थैंक यू. मैं चाउमीन बेचता था सड़क के किनारे बहुत कम उम्र में, और उस समय सब मेरे को बोलते थे तू क्या कर रहा है, अपना करियर बर्बाद कर लेगा, ये हो जाएगा. मैं टाई वाई पहन के बेचता था, नॉट बिकॉज आई वाज दैट स्मार्ट और आई वाज बट आई यूज्ड द इंग्लिश लैंग्वेज एंड वेयरिंग अ टाई व्हिच वाज अ बोरोड टाई फ्रॉम माय फ्रेंड एट दैट एज and stage of my life. I didn't have money to buy one, so I used to do that because that would attract customers. And बहुत लोग रुक जाते थे, अरे ये तो अंग्रेजी बोल रहा है, इसका मतलब ये जेन्युइन है. जेन्युइन तो था ही, नो डाउट. बट मैंने उस पैसे कमाने के लिए सुजाता सिनेमा हॉल है रांची में, उसके ऑपोजिट में खड़ा होकर चाउमीन बेचा. बट उस समय भी मैंने इसी बात से लड़ाई की कि मेरी आवाज सुनो, मैं दूसरों को क्यों बोलूं, मैं अपनी दिल की आवाज सुनूं. मेरा दोस्त लोग आता था, चाउमीन खा लेता था, साथ में रम वम पी लेता था, कोक वोक के साथ. मेरे को कहता क्या कर रहा है यार, तू आ जाना पीछे हमारे साथ. यार बेचना है, पैसे कमाने हैं, घर चलाना है, राइट? मैं अपनी आवाज सुना, and I'm very proud of that. Fourth, this whole thing about, and you also said this, Anupam, I am emotional. Why should I be apologetic because I am emotional? भाई इंटेलेक्चुअल से ज्यादा एनर्जी साइंटिफिकली प्रूवन है, फिजियोलॉजिकल प्रूवन है, डॉक्टर साहब लोग हैं हमारे इस लर्निंग टुगेदर में। इमोशनल एनर्जी इज बाय फार मोर देन इंटेलेक्चुअल एनर्जी। लेकिन कंडीशनिंग कर दिया माइंडसेट, सुबह से शाम तक की क्लास में पढ़ते हो तो फर्स्ट आओ, हाँ क्लास 12 में साइंस ले लो, हाँ डॉक्टर ने तो इंजीनियर बनो। तो हम आज अपनी इमोशनल एनर्जी, जो कि तुमको इस बुक को लिखने में इंस्पायर किया, तुम्हारी पूरी जर्नी को गाइड किया, तुम अपोलोजेटिक क्यों हो गए ये कह के कि आई एम सॉरी आई एम मोर इमोशनल? नो, आई एम proud that I am more emotional and I'm putting it out to the world and telling them and challenging them a theory which probably is today degenerating. Right? I won't go beyond this because I've been researching on intelligence and artificial intelligence and spiritual energy versus emotional energy. मैं अभी जर्नी में हूँ, सफर कर रहा हूँ, इंग्लिश में भी और हिंदी में भी। और नेक्स्ट पॉइंट है कि you have said that body and karma and all of that's brilliant articulation of your understanding. But I just want to say one thing. बस हर इंसान, आदमी गुरु नहीं हो सकता है। गुरु हम अपने खुद ही हो सकते हैं। I can have mentors and I can have 100 and 200 and 500 mentors, two mentors, 5 mentors. लेकिन जहां हम एक दो गुरु की पूंछ पकड़ लिए, हम फेनेटिक बन जाते हैं। And you have come out of that. Congratulations. I pause here. Thank you.
Thank you, Deshji. I understand these were more of comments or your own thoughts, but if Anupamji would like to say something, yeah.
Thank you, Avdesh ji, and for sharing your story also. I'd love to know more about, at what age you started, we were making chow mein, what got you there, what were your experiences like, learnings, and yeah, I'm very curious to know about your life now. On the जो आपने वो बोला वैलिडेशन वाली बात बहुत सही है, और मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि उससे फ्री होना इतना मुश्किल है। जैसे मैं नहीं कहता हूं मैं अभी भी फ्री हूं, बहुत चीजों की वैलिडेशन हटा दी होंगी, लेकिन बिल्कुल भी फ्री नहीं हूं। अभी भी मुझे, अभी आज ही एक्चुअली मैं ये व्हाइल आई वाज राइटिंग दिस, व्हेन आई एम रीराइटिंग सम चैप्टर्स एंड आई वाज जस्ट वॉकिंग अराउंड एंड आई इंटरनल डायलॉग वाज गोइंग ऑन एंड आई सेड क्या बढ़िया किताब लिखी है तूने। एंड आई एम थिंकिंग, देख रहे हो क्या, कहां पे ये ईगो कैसे काम कर रहा है। हाँ, तूने लिखी, एक्चुअली आ रही है, अगर मैं सही में एक्सेप्ट करूं, और बढ़िया लिखी, तूने लिखी, आई एम ऑलरेडी इमेजिनिंग व्हाट पीपल विल से टू मी, इट इज जस्ट सो डीप। एंड तो इससे फ्री होना, पता नहीं, बहुत ही महान लोग हैं जो हो सकते हैं। There are some people who already come with much lesser need for validation, and they're not great people, they're people like us, and all I can attribute it to is their previous life, what they have done, the programming they are carrying. Good for them. One thing, this on the validation part, I feel when I was doing those ayahuasca ceremonies, even in Isha, I've attended a lot of places where people share about their life in safe spaces or safe circles. And I saw that a lot of pain people are carrying from their parents. And I feel that somewhere deep down, the need to be accepted by our parents is very core to our species, in our DNA. And when we do not have that, it shows up in many ways, like Donald Trump, even today, I wish his father had just hugged him properly, he would not be doing this to the whole world right now. So I feel, I'm not a parent, and but I do feel parenting is such an important role, the most important job in the world. And all that the parent needs to do is make that child feel unconditionally loved and accepted. That's it. बाकी बच्चा अपना पढ़ लेगा, अपना कर लेगा, लेकिन वो बच्चा खुश रहेगा अपनी लाइफ में, अगर उसको ये मिला, ये मेरा थ्योरी है. Although all my friends feel I am disqualified to give any parental advice, but this is what I think. Yeah, please.
Brilliant. One last comment. You see, you're absolutely right. A happy person is more successful, and all successful person not necessarily are happy.
Exactly.
And there is a parental connection on this. And you're bang on. Um, I will connect with you later and talk. I don't want to hog the time of others. I'm sure lots of them. अरुण भैया बचपन से देखे हैं और मैं इस ग्रुप पे I'll tell you Anupam one thing. I have experimented in this group because it's the safest group I have been a member of with my own self by putting out my thoughts, getting beaten and rogered like crazy, but still have helped myself through this learning process, learning together in action. I'll pause now.
Yeah, Avdeshji, thank you so much, because I see that Arunji for a long time he has been raising his hand. Arun sir, over to you.
Nothing much. This is for Deepak Mon and Anupam. I think 2 years back we began calling our sessions as human library, where we borrow people, not books. And we could just see how Dada and Apna Avdesh reacted. So you touch some chord in their hearts, obviously. So at least one person definitely read you to some extent is Avdesh. Now my question to you, Anupam, is, in your journey, you have met people, some you found spiritually developed, some not so spiritually developed. My question to you is, how long does it take you personally? How many interactions, how many days? And there is no line, there is no time limit for you to realize that this particular person is on the spiritual path. Whether he has realized or not, that's a different thing. But, and what makes you feel, if you can share, that these are the things when I find in a person, I find that he is moving on the right path. Anupam.
देखिए, I don't think I can say right path or wrong path. But sometimes...
Just a minute, Anupam, just a minute. When I said right path or wrong path, I said it's a very, very subjective statement. What I meant to say that how do you find some kind of a spiritual elements in that person? So let's put it that way.
So I would say, in a conversation, if I find somebody exploring things just one level below the surface, people who are only talking about current events, other people, and opinions, I feel, and if I spend some time and I realize a person is only here, I know that person is really just existing in the physical realm and is not trying to understand anything of the metaphysics that's running it. So I feel those, and sometimes conversations, sometimes it happens. Like, I also feel it's not only about those who are at a depth, that's one type. There's also a category of people I meet who are just absolutely pure innocence. Just, they will not talk any philosophy, they will not talk any path, guru, or try to understand karma and all of that, but are just so innocently pure. Like this guy I know in Bangalore, John, American guy, in the book, he appears as Lester. It's just pure, and he's a farmer, and all he does is he works without anything, no boss, no incentive, nothing. He just works. I call him like a pure karma yogi. So I think any people who are just exploring things at least one surface below, or those who are following this life with complete purity and no self, either from benefit or criticism or negativity, those who are free from it, I feel they are kind of closer to the spiritual path than the material path.
Excellent. Ashutosh.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Anupamji. Okay, I can see Dipankar Da raising his hand. So Over to you.
Anupam, you did not reply, but I have a question. What is the last line of your book?
It's not yet finished.
No, it is finished. I changed it. 1 second. There is nowhere I need to be.
Oh, great.
Oh.
So maybe on top of it, let me ask then my last question. You have passed through various chapters, and you are in a last chapter in your book, may not be in your real life. Do you think that this will also pass? It's a bad question, I guess.
This chapter will also pass?
Yeah, the last chapter where you are, current chapter, let's say.
Yes, absolutely, it will. Because actually, my friends say that, like Sachin, for instance, he says that he has seen 4 different versions of me, and in every version, I say that this is it, this is final, and then I move on. So yes, this chapter will also pass.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Deepankarda and Anupamji again. So we have 2 more hands raised, so I'll go in that order. We'll first go to Dilipji and after that Dr. Raj sir. Dilipji, over to you.
Anupamji, first of all, I would like to congratulate you on a very stimulating talk. It gave rise to so many thoughts, and some were running parallel to what you're saying. And obviously, we tend to, relate it to our own life experiences, and that is what makes it interesting. Uh, I will just like to take up one point on which I have a lot of dilemma. In fact, I have a lot of dilemma about a lot of things. So, but one thing that you mentioned karma and you mentioned past lives. So that belief in past life, did you have it right from the beginning, or did you get it when you were following Vipassana or Buddhist philosophy or something? Because that is something I have struggled with. One side of my mind kinds of, finds it very attractive. The other side rejects it. So I would like to have more on this from you.
Yeah, so I think at some level, having been born Hindu, the past life thing is somewhat fed into us. पिछले लाइफ में तुम ऐसे थे, अगले लाइफ में तुम्हारा ये हो जाएगा, इतने कर्मों जन्म जन्म का कर्म है. So all of this comes in, so our default setting is believing it. I feel at some point where I was discarding everything, I also said, I don't know, I don't know whether this is true or not. However, especially delving into our ancient scriptures, Upanishads, or the Buddha, or some of the great sages, what they have said, I found so much similarity between what all of them are saying, that I was like, all of them cannot be wrong. So I put all of them in a bracket of probably right. So what they're saying is probably right, but I need to prove it for myself. I don't want second-hand theories anymore. So in Vipassana, what happened was it turned from a hypothesis or a belief to a reality for me. Because trust me, the amount of anger that was pouring out was not from this life. Like I've had very fortunate to have had a very chill life. There's no reason for me to be so angry. And it is, it's a bit like, if I were to, I cannot explain it to anybody because there's not like this many cubic units of cubic meters or liters of anger means previous life, only this much as this life. There's no formula like that. But it was just very obvious to me कि यार ये कहीं और से आ रहा है. And the cycle, and of course I've been able to relate it to some of the other theories that I've read. Like I had read the Tibetan Book of Living and Dying, and when I read it, I could not understand anything. At that point I'm thinking, "Hi, this makes sense," but after I did Vipassana, that started to make sense. I was like, oh, so this is what they were saying. Oh, this is what they probably meant. So it's about that. So post Vipassana, I feel that my um, my conviction about lives being, continuation, just the body being changed. My conviction on that is based on a sense of understanding that I feel that I have experienced rather than a theory that I need to believe.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Anupamji. Dr. Rag, sir, it's your turn now.
First of all, Anupam, you are a wonderful storyteller. And your stories are based on real life experiences that makes it more interesting. So the guy who was asking you, kya paya? So at the end of the session, I don't have to ask this question to myself, kya paya? On more than one occasion while you were telling us your life story and your wanderings from one guru to other guru, one system to other system, I could find that this quest for knowing yourself is an endless, lifelong process. And you somehow found that partially, not the full answer, but by and large, you could be satisfied after going through a session of Vipassana. So that's fine. But do you now believe that you have reached a stage where you don't have any more questions? And about the gurus and the others, various systems which claim to sort of emancipate you or rid you of all your feelings of guilt and promises heaven, स्वर्ग के वो बोलते हैं, उसमें fallacies हैं, मैं भी उसमें believe नहीं करता हूँ. I'm closer to Buddha again, Apadipo Bhava. What is your take on this? About how much of your questions, how many of your questions have now been answered? And how many, it would be a wrong question because questions will continue to haunt you as you grow in age and experiences, more questions will crop up. But at the moment, how, a percentage wise, what is your feeling that such and such percentage of my queries have been answered, I'm at peace with myself, and certain percentage still have not been answered? Basically, that is my question that is I'm putting to you, because I, at this stage, believe that, yes, I have got some answers without following any guru, by my own methods and trials, and still in search of the final answer. What is your take on this? I hope I'm clear.
Yes, yes. So where I am today, I feel that almost all my questions were not necessary. Actually, I mean, at the end of the day, none of the questions actually mattered. And I may have answered some, may not have answered some partially, whatever, but it doesn't matter. Actually, today, I have no more questions, but and of course, there are questions that I will never be able to answer, like, why is there so much misery, all of this. I don't even want to, For me right now, the only question is, am I living fully every day?
Wonderful.
And that is all. There are no bigger questions that I'm pursuing right now.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's a wonderful state of being.
No, I mean, and I'm failing miserably at that question, to be honest. Am I living fully? Every day answer is no.
No, but that is a profound statement. When you say that you need not have had so many questions to be answered, that is, you have reached a stage where these questions don't count. You don't have to have so many questions in your mind. and then only can be you be at peace.
It
In
was
one
also
life,
it was also I feel a lot of ego driven to have all those questions, deep
yeah, yeah,
questions. Like when I was going to meet Shri Am, I had created, for 2 weeks, I thought, should I ask this? Should I ask this? But also like I wanted him to be impressed and finally sahi follower mila. Like it's all ego that makes
it's
us,
all big.
yeah. I mean, that's why I said that some of the greatest wisdom came on the journey from people who were not asking any questions.
Yeah, yeah.
So
It's wonderful. Wonderful.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Jha and Anupam again. I can see Sarda ji raising his hand. So, sir, Sarda Mukhopadhyay, sir.
Well, I told you that I will mute my mic, but I'm coming back. First of all, let me commend you on your being able to watch your mind, how it is reacting and why it is reacting. Very difficult. Very difficult. Most of us are not able to. Whenever disturbed, why it is coming is one, and second is uh, able to go down to the point why it is happening. But my question here is only this, that you said that you have seen that you have learned so many things for, let us say, a drug dealer, let us say genna cutter, let us say traffic person is a common man. And their wisdoms and their things are based on the small lives. They're almost same as the big people's. But the big people's reach somewhere where they get followers, and these people lead their simple lives. And we never say that these people have spent very good life and that we will follow them, we will honor them. So, but you have observed that. So your observation is that even if some people are having so basic wisdoms in their mind and they are doing in their lives, where are they falling short that they are not reaching such higher stages? That is one. And second observation is you had a lot of queries. Some people do a good job, settle, progress, career progression, this, that. But you wanted to find what is this, what is this? Let me do, let me trek, let me follow some guru, let me have some one tone and ayas, and let me find out something. So this urge of finding, how did it at all come? Is it all along you have felt some search, or like people say that you succeed something, so then Maslow's law हिसाब से second, third level, थोड़ा money हो गया, stability हो गया, तो ऊपर हो गया, and then ultimately self-actualization needs. So the drive of these things are from the childhood, or these self-actualization things, and how this common man does not, despite being based in the basics, does not really reach anywhere. These two your thoughts, if you can share.
So if I understand correctly, the first question is, why is it that the common man, even though he's living so well and there's so many things to learn from, does not achieve the greatness of, let's say, a Shah Rukh Khan or a Sachin Tendulkar or, Ambani?
Or Jaggi Vasudev, or even
Jaggi Basu.
Jaggi Vasudev.
Yeah. So,
or even any Raman Maharshi.
So I feel that first of all, whether you remain a gannawala your entire life or you become a superstar in your lifetime makes no difference to existence. So in the larger scheme of things, it is not that one is successful, the other is unsuccessful. All that matters to existence is how each one of us has reacted to the circumstances that have been presented to us. So, a gannawala eventually could turn out to be way more successful than a Shah Rukh Khan or somebody, successful in the material world. And not each one is meant. I feel that, we are also circumstances are given to us for the things that we need to react to, and so each story is really different. And the second is also to become successful in the material world. In that way, we have to do so many things that will go against the nature of spiritual growth. you know. So in our world, ego is, as one of you had asked that question, no, that um, you know, ego is is celebrated. Like I said that, oh, I'm emotional. You know, I was apologetic about it. A certain kind of personality is celebrated. A certain kind of, and to do all of that. So Donald Trump is the most successful person in the world of the last century. But do you think he has achieved any spiritual, you know? So that is, so to me, they are not connected. Your second question was, please remind me what it was.
Uh, that you traded many paths. You sometimes thought,
Ah,
okay, let me do some career, let me do some writing, let me do
ah,
trekking, let me find out a guru, let me do some one-ton living, and find out where I am getting satisfaction. So this search, behind this search, what was there? Is it something like a Maslow's laws of
hierarchy.
progressively getting more satisfied intellectually, emotionally, or it is something like a from childhood you feel a surge to know what I am, who I am, like that.
So in my case, I feel that this urge was there from a very young age. But around, so at when I was like 4, 5, 6, 7 years of age, I remember, you know, having all these questions and not knowing whom to ask, because I knew my parents would not be able to answer. I just knew that they won't be able to answer. I won't even be able to explain. But around 10, 11, 12, you know, from then on, it disappeared. But in the 20s, it came back. So I was always trying to understand things a little deeper. In fact, back in 2004 and 5, 2004, 5, 6, when Roy sir and I used to hang around, I was 27, 28 years old at the time. We used to have a lot of these conversations outside his building till 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock at night. We'll stand outside and just talk. And I'll just soak in everything that he has to say. So personally, it has been there in me. And again, it might be just something that is acquired from a previous life. In other people, I have seen, you know, the Maslows also work, that some people who achieve everything and feel an emptiness, I've seen them go on that search. I've seen people go on to this search after a very serious setback in their life, like losing somebody very close, or losing one's job, or losing one's health completely, and then thinking, okay, if this is not it, what is? So, you know, so for to each person, I think this catalyst can be something else, but in my case, I feel it has been there a really long time.
Thank you. So it is said that people work up to the level of their incompetence. If we follow Tikritan or somebody, so in that case, you said that after a level, you now understood there is no answer. There is you need not have so many questions. Jha Sahab has also shared his wisdom by trial and experiment in his mind. He has finished and he has concurred with you. So there's a great wisdom in this. So I just wanted to know, what conditions or what situations lead to this. Then now I realize that I have not much questions. I need not have so many questions. What leads to this type of mental state?
What leads to
I
this
mean,
type of a mental state? I feel for me it was after Vipassana, because now for me the reason why I have been born has become so clear, that all these questions, what am I supposed to do this? Is there life after this? Is there, you know, all of that is not required, because all that I need to focus on is, you know, the stories my mind is creating. And why is it creating that? Because it needs some sensations. And most often I succumb to it. It's only after spending 1 hour of enjoying that sensation I realize, यार फिर से तू इसके चक्कर में पड़ गया. Ah, so, so to me now this struggle, like this thing, this game is the game, not कि क्या लिखा है महाशिवरात्रि में क्या होता है, स्टार्स का क्या अलाइनमेंट है, मेरे को कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता अब. यही देखना है कि भाई अंदर जो चल रहा है इस फ्रेम के अंदर.
wonderful, sir. Wonderful.
Thank you, Anupam ji. And I guess Avdesh ji is back with another, I don't know whether it is a query, question, or comment, or his own thoughts. But I think we'll have time for that, so we can just go ahead with whatever he has to say. Avdeshji.
Thank you, Ashutosh. Question, and this is what I wanted to also bring it up. So, आपने बोला ना क्या मिला? So the preceding thing that hits my mind is manga kya? What are you asking for?
Oh, yeah.
And or ye manga kya is a bigger quest in life than kya mila. And that's my thought. And you brought it very well, Anupam, that when this person who was serving tea, he finally says, kya mila? Bhai, aapne manga kya? And in your case, आपने बहुत कुछ मांगा अनुपम, ठीक है, चाहे वो जगी के साथ हो, चाहे श्रीहम के साथ हो, चाहे विपासना के साथ हो, तुम्हारे पास क्वेरीज थे अपने, तुम्हारी अपनी एक सोच थी और अपनी एक विचार थी और एक जर्नी था. और आई वांट टू एंड इट अप बाय सेइंग कि दिस इज मुठभेड़. मैंने लिखा था ग्रुप में कि ये सफर जो है लाइफ का, ये एक जर्नी जो है, ये कांस्टेंट एक स्ट्रगल है. The good thing I picked up from you today, and we'll talk sometime later, अकेले में आएंगे तेरे पास बाद में, is taking it, confronting it. हम तो भाग जाते हैं मैदान छोड़ के, मांगने से पहले ही भाग जाते हैं कि यार मेरे को शौक है मर्सिडीज कार का, बाय द वे है, मिला नहीं है लाइफ में, बट सच ये है. लेकिन हम तो भाग जाते हैं सोच के कैसे डिजायर कर ले, कैसे मिल जाए, क्यों मिले, और उसके बाद वहां पे किताब में लिख दिया एक हिस्ट्री वाला में, स्कूल में जो पढ़े, डिजायर इज द कॉज ऑफ सॉरोज एंड सफरिंग, व्हिच इज नॉट ट्रू. Earthly desire actually leads to enlightenment, which is just the opposite of what it is written. So, just leaving this thought, मांगा क्या, और इस पे बाद में बात करेंगे तुमसे. बट थैंक यू सो मच, ब्रिलियंट. एंड अरुण भैया का तो जवाब ही नहीं है. चलो ठीक है, चुप. मैं
चलो अब हम लोग सब चुप हो जाएंगे, अब अरुण जी बोलेंगे, एंड ऑफ कोर्स अनुपम जी. अरुण सर, ओवर टू यू, प्लीज अनम्यूट योरसेल्फ.
मेरा हैंड गलती से रेज हो गया था, प्लीज इग्नोर दैट.
अच्छा. I think we had quite a good conversation. In fact, when I joined this session, and I'll be honest, Anupam ji, I hardly knew anything about you, and I'd mentioned this to Arun sir also. But then, Arun sir in the beginning mentioned that at least one person has connected with this talk. But I would say that I don't think there's a single person who has not connected with your talk. Each one of us has connected with whatever you said. Of course, it has, your talk has raised more questions in my mind than answers. I would very frank about it. I have very many questions in my mind. Is validation always wrong? Is validation, yes, validation at times may be wrong. Looking for validations, and in present day world where validation is everything, particularly take the example of social media, where every like or every comment or subscription or whatever we talk of, it has become way of living. People look forward to those kind of things. But keeping that apart and coming to parenting, which you mentioned, yes, parenting, the last line that you said, that come what may, the child should always feel that my parents are there, something like that. So that is something very, very important, irrespective of validation or non-validation. In my view, of course, there are many learned people in this learning group. So that is what my takeaway would be from this session. And once again, thank you very much. And I think this one session is not enough. We should have more discussions. And
Actually,
best
it's very
wishes for
simple.
you.
Sorry for interrupting. Ashok, very simple. Instead of waiting for 1 week or 2 weeks where the entire effect will be cooled down, we can meet tomorrow if other people are agreeing. We have really too many questions. So if other people agree, we can continue it tomorrow. And of course, subject to the availability of Anupam.
I'm available. आप लोग बताइए या फिर we can give it a break also.
Yeah, we
Because,
can talk in the group, Arun sir.
Yeah.
We can check about it in the group.
Okay.
Okay, then I'll stop recording now. And thank you very much once again. Thank you,
sir.
Jagdish.
Thank you very much for being such a great audience and
Anand,
interacting, sharing your thoughts and questions. Really enjoyed it. बहुत मजा आया.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sirs. Thank you.